Okay, in this tutorial we're going to look at modelling a basic kind of glass canister thingy, glass holder thingy in Max, and then taking it into UDK, just so that we can have a look at getting transparency working, and just so you can see the pipeline of for creating your package in UDK, so that it will definitely kind of work alright. So we're only going to make a basic model, so we'll just first of all just make sure your units are set up. So set it to centimeters, and 1 unit equals 2 centimeters in your system unit setup. And then we'll make this 100 centimeters by 20 centimeters. If we come over to modify, we'll reduce our height segments down to 1, and we'll keep our cap segments at 2. So the next thing to do is to apply an edit poly modifier to this, and I guess what we'll add first is just the basic kind of interior kind of liquid model we're going to have. So if you remember, on your keyboard you've got F4 makes wireframe and smooth, mixes between the two. F3 goes to wireframe, and if you've got something selected, F2 will show that in highlighted red. So we'll select this model here and press F3 so we're in wireframe mode, then go to scale mode. I'm just going to scale this in, so we've got a cylinder within a cylinder almost. We'll drag this down reasonably near the bottom. I'll scale this up a bit more actually, and then we'll use our axis controls there. Remember, you can use all 4 views here just to control it here. Like so. So that inner cylinder there is going to be the liquid of our model. Okay, I want to have a label on the front of this, so we will go to Edit, Swift Loop, and making sure you're on the front cylinder and not on the inner cylinder. You'll be able to see it, sometimes it will, there you go, you can see it go into the inner cylinder like that occasionally. So just make sure you're in the outer cylinder, or alternatively you could come to edge mode, select one edge, hold shift and select another edge on the loop, and then use the connect. If you hit this little tab here, we'll add in 2, and we'll pinch those together and say slide up to there. Just make this label a bit bigger. OK on that. And now what we're going to do is, just so you'll see why I'm putting those cuts in, we're going to use, say, those polys there are going to be where the label will display. Okay, we're going to need a kind of lid on this, so we turn on by angle and just select the top, and then turn off by angle. I'm just going to extrude up this area here. We'll then select in our left view, select those polygons there, and we'll extrude those out. Now if you're getting that glitch, you just need to hit this little button here, and that will change the different extruding options, and we just want to extrude it out like that, just so we get some kind of lid model on this. And then come back over to edge mode, and just to clean up this model a bit, I'll select that loop, and remember to do that you select one edge, then hold shift and select the other edge, then hold control and then hit remove. Okay, so if we just go to F3, press F3, you'll see we've got our inner model there to act as a liquid, we've got the bottle, we've got some polygons for the label, and we've got a lid. So that'll be fine for this model. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is come over to our material editor, and in our first material here we're going to click on standard, and we're going to add a multi sub-object. Select discard old material. Now this allows us to apply multiple materials to one model. Now this is good in this case because we can select one of our materials and apply glass, and the other material another material, and apply, think solid objects like the lid, the label, and the inner liquid. So ID1 here, we'll go into this and we'll just select standard and hit OK. And we'll just put the opacity down to around 20 and change the colour to a kind of green, and I want you to name this glass. Now you can either select this to go back up, or if we just go back into glass, you can press this button here. And then in this material here, we'll again apply a standard material, and we'll call this bottle underscore main. Okay, so we should only need two materials, because we're going to put the liquid, the label, and the lid on one texture, and the glass on another. So we'll have two materials, a translucent glass, and the rest of the bottle will be the other. So if you hit set number and just set this to 2, there's our two materials. Now obviously you can see we've got ID1 and ID2 on these two materials, so that's what we need to assign to this. Now to do this, if we come into polygon mode, you'll find a polygon material IDs tab. So let's assign this material to the model, and you'll see it's all on my model here, it's all turned into this glass, and that means it all has an ID of 1. So I'm going to say select the label area. I think that should be enough, and I'm going to go to set ID, and I'm going to assign that 2. And you can see that's now changed to the grey of ID2. Now I'm going to select the lid, like so. And again, I'm going to set ID, and I'm going to put 2 into there. And then I'm going to go into element mode, and I'm going to select that inner cylinder. And to do that, if you just click on the main and double click, it should go into the one there. And again, I'm going to set ID 2 on that. So there you can see anything with ID 1, well, select ID 3, and we'll just assign ID 1 to that. So anything with ID 1 will have the glass applied, and anything with ID 2 has the bottle main material applied. You can see on the base here actually we've got ID 2 there, so if you just hit select ID 2, it will select everything with that ID, and you can see if there's anything you need to change. So obviously in this case I need to change that bottom area there, so let's minus everything off and set ID to 1 and hit enter. Okay, I'm just going to select that cylinder, set ID, and set that to 2. Okay, so you should end up with that as your final result. Just turn off the grid with G, and if you want to test it, in select ID here you can put, say, ID 1 and select to make sure that's all correct. Then you can put in ID 2, select ID, and make sure that's correct. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is unwrap this model. So we'll apply an unwrap modifier to this and go to our UV editor. And we'll just go to polygon mode, select all, and just unfold mapping, just to make this a bit easier to work with. Now one useful thing you can do is in our Unwrap window, you see you've got an All IDs tab. If you just select glass, it will just show you the glass tab. Now if you select it all, and then go back to all, you can then move it around. If it's attached to anything, just go to Tools, Break, then you can move it out of the way like so. Okay, so next thing we'll do is select our label, and we'll break that off as well, and we will apply unfold to that. So there's the label there. Let's just check it's not upside down or anything by going to vertex mode and selecting an end vert, just making sure it's the top left, which it is. Okay, we'll then select the inner area here. So I'll just turn on element mode. If it's not working, I can just select what I know is right, so that's okay. And then with the top, if you make sure you've got biangle turned on, and then just select the top there, you can work that over there. Okay, so that's fine. We've got our label there, we've got the liquid area there, we've got the top cap there, and we have the glass there. Now, because our glass is a different material, we actually only need to unwrap these three onto one texture plate. So just to show you what I mean, that's going to slot in there and that's going to slot in there as well, but this one can stay over there for now. Well, just to make this a better use of space, I'm going to select this area here and break that. And just move that up to there. We'll then slot the label into there. And I'll do the same with this as well. So, well, we'll keep the top up there and put the bottom up there. Okay, so that'll do for just our basic unwrap. The glass can just sit there for now. And the next thing we'll do is just render out this template. So we'll go Tools, Render UVW Template. And we'll leave it at 1024 and set that to solid and just hit Render UV Template. We'll save that. And one last little thing I'm going to check. I'm just going to check that the bottle is actually the right way up, and it is, so that's fine. And the same on the glass as well. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is actually create some textures for this model now that we have our Unwrap. So if we come into Photoshop here, and we'll just go to File, New, and the first thing we'll do is create the basic glass. So all we're going to use for this is basic opacity and colour map. So technically we can make this even smaller for the glass. It depends if you have any kind of detail like cracks on it or dirt or anything like that. So actually we'll leave this at 512 then, just in case you guys do want to do that. So we'll add a new layer on top and we'll set this to a kind of horrible green colour. And then in our channels we'll drop an alpha, so make a kind of green layer, then come over to channels, and if you hit this little tab here, so I'll bin that off, and then just hit that little tab, and you can see it makes you an alpha. So we'll drop in a grey colour into this, and we'll save this as our glass texture. But what we need to do now, before we do that, now we're starting to actually save things, is set up a little folder structure for our package. So if we come over to, I'll come over to my external hard drive here, and in this folder here I'm just going to create a UDK folder. Now in that folder I'm going to make another new folder. I'm going to call this textures, and another folder here, call this models. Now when I go to save, I can save it in the textures folder. We'll save it as a target, and I'm going to call this TA bottle underscore glass. Just hit save. Now when you save as a target, you need to make sure you've got 32 bits ticked on, because that will save this alpha channel in there. So now if we come back over to our scene, in our glass tab, in diffuse we'll drop our glass texture. Now it's very important that you do this, you set up these folders, because this is where we're going to save our package and where it's going to access all our models and textures. So if you get this right from the get-go, you won't have any issue with your UDK package or your textures or models or anything. So we'll save that, and we'll load that from there, and we can actually drop that in opacity as well. And make sure we tick on use alpha there. Now when you're exporting a model like this, you have to have a texture dropped into the diffuse, otherwise it won't recognise these materials. So even if you're importing a model with no textures applied, because you might be reusing these materials, you have to make sure you drop something in the diffuse slot, otherwise it won't export properly. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is our bottle material. So if we come over to the layers tab, we'll just make a new layer here, and we'll call this label. Make another new layer, and we'll call this cap, and another new layer, and we'll call this liquid. So we know this is the label area here, so we'll select that, and we're just going to make a kind of parchment type label thing. So we'll assign colour into there. We'll then, on the liquid, we're going to have like a weird kind of purple liquid. But you can actually go edit, fill, and select use foreground colour, and that will just fill that in. And then the cap, dead simple, just a kind of dark grey colour. Edit, fill, foreground colour. So we'll just save this again as a target. We'll go to our textures folder and we'll call this TA_bottle main. We might need the alpha for the liquid, so we'll have that as 32 bits. We'll come back into Max, and in our bottle main material we'll assign that texture and make it visible with this tab. If you want to get rid of that seam from the unwrap, if you just tick off these options here, you can do that. Okay, so we can see the start of our model here. Okay, so the next step is to actually put some detail into this diffuse texture. So let's come back over to our tab, and what we're going to do is we're going to make a new group here. We'll call this label. And we'll drop the label layer into there to make it a bit easier to use. Then we'll select on the text tool and click on there, and we'll just write label, or just call it something a bit more original than that. It's up to you, whatever kind of potion or weird thing you think it will be. And then from your textures, just pick something you think will be from your fonts, just pick something that you think will be suitable. So I think that will be okay. And then the next thing we're going to do is make this look a bit more like parchment. So I'm going to Google search and find a parchment-like image I can use. Maybe something from CG Textures or mayang.com, just to avoid any issues with copyright. So from CG Textures, I just grabbed a bunch of kind of dirt images here. And then just Control A and Control C, and just paste those on top of my layer here. And then just messing with the blend modes. Just to find, and then my opacity as well, just to add in some detail to that layer. just go for each one. Now I've got that one in there. Try adding one like that as well. And literally, rather than hand paint this, I am literally just dropping these on top. And then messing with my blend modes. And changing my opacity down as well, just to get a parchment-like effect. I'm just going to rotate that image and then drag it down. Control T is to get to edit mode, and again just pick the style I want from this. And then once I've roughly kind of got what I want, I might just duplicate that one again.